Welcome to the My Inner Tiger podcast. I'm your host, Sydney D. Camella. I'm also a wife, mother, master life coach, course creator, and spiritual Sherpa. Over the past few years, I have overcome extreme anxiety, depression, addiction, infertility, and chronic illness. And as a result, I've made it my life's mission to teach other women like you that no matter what battle you're up against, you have an inner tiger, a power within to create and manifest whatever your heart desires. If you are tired of being a victim and ready to be boss of your life, you have come to the right place. Each episode, I'm going to share tools, teachings, and techniques I have used and taught countless other women so that together we can create a life beyond our wildest dreams. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that your inner tiger is just waiting to be unleashed. I'm so happy you've tuned in. Let's get started. Hello, beautiful souls. I am beyond excited that you have pushed play today to listen to this really juicy episode, basically about sovereignty and some other things. But what I touch on at first is what sovereignty means. It's such a buzzword in the world today, and how we can all step into our own sovereignty. We dig way into body autonomy, what that means, how to gain it for yourself. And then I touch a lot on spirituality. I've had a lot of people ask me questions about my spirituality and where I stand. And I have quite a roller coaster of a ride with my experience in religion and what got me to where I am today and where I am today. So I'm so thrilled about this episode. I hope you enjoy it. I would love to hear what you think. So let me know and enjoy. Welcome back to the My Inner Tiger podcast. Or if this is your first time, I am so excited to have you here. Today's topic is going to be on sovereignty. And sovereignty is a really hot buzzword in the world today. And I've been throwing it around in lots of different ways. And my friend pointed out, she was like, since you talk about sovereignty all the time, I think you should really do a podcast on what you mean by that, what sovereignty is. And I think that would be really powerful. So I couldn't agree more. So I wanted to just hop on here. I will admit that I don't have any notes. This is not a well thought out podcast. This is something that just hit me in the moment, and I'm just going to go with it and we'll see what happens. So sovereignty. What is the definition of sovereignty? So when you look it up on Google, which I did just do just before this, you get a lot of, kings and queens and government type of explanations. And that's all well and good, I think, especially in an old paradigm. But what I mean by sovereignty, and what a lot of my colleagues and friends and mentors, when they talk about sovereignty, what they mean is something very different. It's very much within ourselves. So I did write this down, so I'll give myself that. I did find a definition that really spoke to me, and it was exactly what I mean when I speak of sovereignty. And so I just wanted to read that for you. So sovereignty means autonomy, independence, self-government, self-rule, home rule, self-determination, freedom, supreme power, independent authority. So these are also really big buzzwords, especially in today's climate. So funny little story. If you heard my podcast episode, I think it's called Anxiety and Trauma Release or something like that, a few episodes back, release trauma and anxiety, I don't know, something like that. I was interviewing my friend Chad Brown on tapping and TRE modalities, and he mentioned the word autonomy, and it was really funny because I kind of for the first time really had an aha moment as to what autonomy actually meant. And it's since become one of my favorite words because it speaks so well to what I have learned over the past 2 years, having been diagnosed with kidney failure and on a journey to heal my body and on my own, without the complete guidance of Western medicine, sort of leaving Western medicine behind. Not, what Western medicine wants me to do is have a kidney transplant. And every month when I see my doctor, she still tells me that it's painful. You need to get a kidney transplant. We don't want you back on dialysis, which I agree. But I have to just grit my teeth and just bear it because it's a necessity. I have to go see her to get my numbers for insurance to pay for it. So it's really why I go. And I do like her. I like her as a person. And so if she is ever listening to this, I don't want to be rude. But she's very well aware that my journey is very much on my own. And I do what I feel is right for myself, what I feel in my body and in my intuition is right for me. And I've searched other more natural ways for healing that have actually gotten me gotten me the results I need. If you don't know my story, I was on dialysis for a year and was able to get off of it and cancel a kidney transplant, which is unheard of. Okay. So I've been on this journey for 2 years, completely learning how to have autonomy within my body. So what does all that mean? It really just means taking full authority over myself, okay? It means not doing what all of the other people are saying doing and looking within and completely trusting and knowing my body and being knowledgeable enough and educated enough and researched enough to know what is right for me. Okay. And only we know that. At the end of the day, only we know for sure what is right for our bodies. We can get diagnoses and we can hear out what anyone else can tell us is going on, and not to undermine any doctors or medical professionals who, are very well educated and very well trained in what they know. I respect them for exactly what they do. They certainly have their place. I don't ever want anyone to think that I do not appreciate and respect Western medicine. There's an infusion that I get that every 8 weeks that supposedly is keeping me alive. I would like to eventually figure out how to get off of that at some point for my AHUS, but that's neither here nor there. So I do really love and appreciate the science behind certain things with pharmaceuticals, and they're lifesavers in very acute situations, right? But at the end of the day, it's better to get into a mentality where that's not your first choice. We're learning enough about your body, having the body autonomy to know what it is that your body needs, learn that it takes time, and then find the right things that are more natural, things that are not, full of chemicals and carcinogens and biofuels or whatever the heck. Listen to my last episode. You'll learn more about what's in most pharmaceutical drugs, just in order for it to be patented. Is not usually good for your body. So it should be a last resort, okay? It really should be a last resort. And so I'm kind of going all over the place. This is what happens when you don't have many notes. But autonomy, it's sovereignty within ourselves, right? So let's break down power, all right? So think about it. For thousands and thousands and thousands of years, us humans have been under this ingrained idea that there are certain people above us, that there are certain people in power, be it kings and queens and government, or even just teachers. And, there's always someone that's bigger and badder and more powerful than you. And we're trained, and it's ingrained in our brains to think that we need to search outside of ourselves to the more powerful, more knowledgeable people to get the answers that we need for ourselves. This is just ingrained within us. It's the way we were raised. And until we start to realize that there is another way, we just continue to do this. Okay? We continue to go to the doctor when we have a headache. We continue to ask them what's wrong with our body. We go to the hospital constantly saying, tell us what's wrong with our body, because we're usually out in a place of fear because we're afraid that we don't have the answers, okay? And if we're not connected to ourselves, if we're not in communication and in touch with ourselves and our higher power, our higher selves, then we probably don't know. So of course, what are we going to do? We're going to go straight to all the other people to get answers within ourselves, to get answers that we could, if we were in touch with ourselves, we could find within ourselves. Okay. So this is what I mean by independence, by autonomy, by sovereignty. It's coming to a place where you recognize that you have all of the power within, and you don't have all of that power within you without having some kind of spiritual connection. Okay. I did an episode, I don't remember which one it was. I think it's called Spirituality and Healing. If you want to go back and listen to that, it's a really short 9-minute episode just about the fact that it's nearly impossible to heal your body without having a spiritual connection, because not everything is our physical symptoms. There are so many things that go on with our body that are a result of things that we are dealing with spiritually, emotionally, things that we hold on to inside of ourselves that have nothing to do with just the outside symptoms, right? And that's what a lot of typical Western medicine goes straight to just put a Band-Aid on whatever you're dealing with, if they even do that. Or they're going to pump you with a bunch of testing and drugs and, things that aren't solving the root core issue. So the real importance here is, if we want to be fully healthy, if we want to know what's truly best for ourselves, because everyone's chemistry is so different. Okay, this is not a one size fits all for human beings. Everyone's chemistry is different. If we want to know the best way to heal our minds and heal our bodies, it is not through a pill. It's from within. And the more we can spend time understanding who we are and the power that we have within ourselves, tapping into our true sovereignty, the more we can do that, the more we can genuinely find healing, the more we can find genuine peace. Another really important thing to point out is that so much of what we're taught is to be in fear. And I will raise my hand as being first in line to admit that fear was always my first resort. I think I come by it naturally. Thanks, Mom. If you're listening, I know you will, for the whole, borderline hypochondriac mentality. It's like, oh my God, I have a headache. Does that mean I'm sick or I have COVID? And I freak out. And it doesn't help, by the way, that the media is in our world and how everything, especially with the stupid COVID-19 virus, that's just, everyone's just pumping fear, and get this vaccine because if you don't, you're going to die or you're going to hurt other people around you, which is crap. But anyway, it's just whatever happened to body autonomy. I personally, and this, again, I've said this in other podcasts, I personally am not vaccinated because I know my body. And I asked my body if this was right for me, and my body said no. That doesn't mean that's the case for everyone, but it's the case for me. And what's so important about that is, look at what's happening in the world today. They're starting to make this vaccine mandatory for people. Some people are getting this vaccine and dying. Who knows what would happen to me, because I know my body. I know how to ask questions to my body. I know how to muscle test. And I know that if I were to get this, it would not be good for me. So who is someone else just to force this on me? There's a lot of people that are getting this that are not doing well. They're getting this vaccine and they're not doing well. And I hope that me talking about this doesn't get me taken down, because that wouldn't surprise me if it did. But it needs to be talked about. And so many people are getting so upset by people not wanting to just go with the flow. And that's because most of the people in that mindset are part of the framework of, it's not their fault. They're used to being told what to do and doing it because they haven't been able to step fully into their sovereignty. Then I'm making assumptions here. I can't speak for everyone, but I would say on a large scale, that's what's going on. Now, I'm also not here to criticize anyone. If you got the vaccine and that's good for you, that was what you chose to do and it was right for your body. And I'm not here to put fear at all in you. You did what you felt was right for you, and that's what everyone should have the ability to do. Now, again, I'm not here to talk about politics at all, but I'm here to talk about sovereignty, which is something that we all have the ability to step into within ourselves, to break down the old paradigm of thinking, which is not always easy. It takes a lot of work and a lot of time, but breaking down that paradigm to think that we just have to do what the powers that be say that we should do because, hey, why not? That's what we've always done and that's what we'll always do. So learning to tap into your own sovereignty is such a key to living a very free and fulfilled and healthy life. Now, I want to go a little bit into spirituality here. I've had a bunch of people ask me, lots of my listeners have asked me where I stand spiritually, like religious wise. And let me just be really, really transparent here about where I stand. And, I've really wondered if I should even share this because I want to make sure I'm speaking to everyone and not cutting anyone out and, honing in on any particular religious belief because, the things I talk about, they go for anyone, no matter what you believe, okay? So I'll just give you a little bit of a background of where I stand on this and what my personal experience is. And I please know that this is not at all, I never have any intention in any of my podcasts or anything that I put out into the world of ever saying that anything you believe in your heart, in your spiritual beliefs are wrong or right or anything like that. I'm just telling you what I've learned, and I've been through a lot in this area. So I just want to briefly give you a little bit of my history so that you can kind of know where I'm coming from. I grew up in a very small town in a Presbyterian church, almost the same as Southern Baptists, basically. And everything was very, typical Christian, hellfire, brimstone in a way. I was a very sensitive child. I had visions of demonic things when I was really little. I mean, they would hold me down at night. So I'm a very intuitive, sensitive person, and I was a very, very afraid child. Okay, so I was afraid of beards. I was afraid of snowmen. Like everything scared me. My family likes to joke about this. So let's just say I know that I started off very early on now I would call it just being very spiritually sensitive, very discerning, and very, very intuitive. Okay, I was always a little bit off the charts on weirdness. Everything, I never wanted to have small talk. Everything was very deep and spiritual for me, even as a young child. Okay, so as I got into my 20s, I went through a phase and I got very, very involved in a religious group. It was an evangelistic church, and it was a very volatile season of my life, and I was very impressionable. I didn't have a good relationship with my father, so father figures were very, I clung to anything father figure-y. And so I fast forward, I ended up getting very involved in this church and becoming a missionary and traveling to Brazil and ultimately New Zealand, living there for 3 months. And I was a hardcore missionary. And in this process, I ended up marrying someone that I was not in love with. And I was 21. And the reason I married this person on a whim is because I was prophesied over by a bunch of people, and a bunch of people I looked up to as parent figures in this church and in this missionary group that I was very involved in. And they were all like, this is your calling. You need to marry him. Once you marry him, you will fall in love with him. This is just a crazy story, and it's just very crazy. I know it's blowing some people's minds right now, but it's my reality. And so I went full force into this, looking to these people for answers. Okay, I was looking to these people within the church, assuming that they had all the answers I needed, still really lacking that true, full relationship of pure love relationship with quote unquote God. Okay. And so I married this guy, and I was married to him for like a year and a half. And I was told that if I married him, I would fall in love with him. So it was like a martyrdom kind of thing. Like it, as a, what would you call it? A gift to God. I would marry him, and God would then make me fall in love with him, and we'd have a beautiful family and, beautiful life and all of that, just to prove how much I trusted the Lord. Right. And, anyway, and it was just a very interesting phase in my life. And, eventually at some point I realized, after not falling in love with him, that this was all crazy. And what I was involved with, this group, was very cult-like. It's hard to say, it's hard to put a label. Some people would very easily put a label on what's a cult. Some wouldn't. Who knows? Who cares? Definitely cultish, because there were things like, don't seek advice outside of this group. No one else knows what we know. We're so enlightened. We know these things. And, I wanted to talk to counselors, normal level-headed people, to see if this was really a good idea. I had so much anxiety. I hyperventilated in a paper bag before I walked down the aisle. It didn't feel right in my soul, but I was trusting the people who were quote unquote in power, what I consider to be more powerful than me, my preacher, the elders of the church, the people I looked up to. So I went with it. And that's the exact definition of not being in my own sovereignty. This is the exact definition of just going with, what other people are saying. And so I lived through this, and it was a very, very hard and very confusing time for me. And when I left him, everyone in the group church completely disowned me. They wouldn't even talk to me. I was a waitress in a restaurant for a little bit just after that. And I remember the whole group coming in, not knowing I was working there, and no one looking at me. It was awful. And I went through years of rebellion. If there was one thing I did hear very clearly in my mind after I left all of that behind me, it was almost an audible voice of God, I guess you could call it God, saying, start over, just start over. Because it was clear to me that everything I was associating with love and light and God and true spiritual sovereignty was not right. And I needed to start over. I needed to break down all those walls, right? So fast forward tons and tons of years later, and it wasn't until my pregnancy experience that, I was always would have considered myself a Christian, and I went to church here and there, but, I was always looking for what was right within me, what felt right within me, where I didn't ever want to listen to what anyone else said anymore, because that was my experience. I wanted to feel and know what was right within me. Okay. And so where am I today? Through my infertility journey, it put me to a place where I hit rock bottom in life, and I was desperate to try to find a way out. And through lots of self-exploration and through coaching school, which was just an eye-opener for me, I came to a place where I still would say that I guess I'd say I consider myself a Christian, but I don't like putting a label on it, because God is within me. God, source, spirit is within me, and is within everyone. And I don't need a church group or anything like that to tell me how to believe and how to feel. I know what's true within me. I am incredibly grateful for my very strong Christian upbringing. I could quote the Bible for you if you ever needed me to. I know it. I know it's in my heart, and I have never felt more free. And this is just me, okay? This is just where I am. I've never felt more free than to know that I have the love and the light of God and the universe and whatever lingo you want to call it, doesn't matter to me, all within myself. And that's what I mean when I have it all within myself. It's an incredible feeling. It's an incredibly beautiful place of peace and love. And I no longer have the anxiety and the fear that I used to live in, always worrying that I was doing something wrong, or, geez, the list goes on in my fear, just taking it back to my childhood. Like, I was afraid of everything. And I finally have so much love in my heart, and I have sovereignty and autonomy within myself. And it's just absolutely beautiful. And I do believe things outside of what traditional Southern Baptist churches tend to believe. I do believe that we have more than one life. I just do. There's too much evidence out there to prove otherwise. There's too much evidence and too many stories that I have heard of that not being true, to believe that's not true. Oh my gosh, I'm not saying this right. Anyway, but I just wanted to clear this up for anyone who wonders where I am. I have a very, very personal and deep and just absolutely immaculate relationship with God, source, universe, which we are all one, is available to everyone. We can tap into it anytime. And, I do that through meditation and through gratitude and all different kinds of things. And there's just so much more available to us in the quantum field and the energy field. I'm a big Joe Dispenza fan, and I know that we can tap into this quantum field where every single thing that we want is available, and our power is absolutely limitless, right? But it doesn't all come from us. I don't want anyone to think that I, as this human being, have this power within me just as a human in a prideful kind of way. I do not believe that at all. Everything in my power comes from the energy, the source within me, okay? And you can call that whatever you want. So, this has been a really interesting episode. I just want to reiterate that this sovereignty is available for all of us. And please, please, please know, if you're listening to this, if anything I said triggered you, whether it was about, healthcare system or vaccines or spirituality, please know that I am not at all here. Let me be the first to tell you that I don't know everything, okay? I do not know everything. I only know what's true for me, and that's what this podcast is about, is to share with other people the experiences that I have been through in my life, and there's been many. There's been so many, and I've learned so much along the way. I've come so far in my life. And I just have a passion to share what I have learned with other people. And some people it's gonna not resonate with, and that's okay. If this podcast is not for you, that is absolutely fine. But I know that there are people out there that this is for, because I know in my soul that I am called to be sharing a lot of this stuff. And however it touches certain people, in whatever way it touches you, whether it blesses you, whether it inspires you, whether it triggers you, it's all here exactly for a reason. And I love every single one of you so much. If you knew my heart, if you knew how much fire I have in my soul to just share with other people and help other people, it's like a deep burn in my belly, okay? In my belly and in my chest, to share and to help others, because nothing lights me up. I've literally been like this since I was a little girl. Ask my oldest friends. I've always wanted to help and encourage other people. I've always seen the light and the love in other people that they can't see for themselves. And I just have such a passion and desire to help and encourage and inspire. And so, if you're ever interested also in life coaching, I'm also a life coach. Go on my website, click on the coaching link. You'll learn a little bit more about that. But anyway, I digress. This is not what it was about. So I love you guys. I hope that this spoke to you in some kind of way. And if it did, please, please share it with anyone that you think might enjoy listening. Love, light, prayers, and blessings to all of you. And I will see you soon. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of My Inner Tiger. Before you go, I'm curious to know, how many times have you tried using affirmations and gotten 0 results? I did that for years, and then I finally realized how to do it right, and that changed everything for me. And that's why I created this beautiful daily manifesto, which I'm giving to you at no cost at all. And it comes with detailed instructions on how to actually get the real change that you want. It's basically a really cute and printable list of powerful affirmations all geared toward helping you manifest more peace and self-confidence. I mean, who doesn't want that? I have one right here in front of me on the wall in front of my desk, and then I have another one in the bathroom in front of my toilet. That way, it's a huge part of my daily life, and trust me, it makes all the difference. I am sure you will love it too, so head on over to myinnertiger.com/manifestation or click the link in the show notes below to download your free copy. And if you loved what you heard today, please, please, please rate and review this podcast on iTunes. And finally, if you're not already, come follow me on Instagram at myinnertiger for more tips and inspiration. I can't wait to connect with you there. Now, go out there and manifest your dreams because you are absolutely worthy of everything you desire. I'll catch you in the next episode.